So tonight is a night of community to bring everybody back together and remember 9/11, 20 years ago. We have an amazing group of people that help us day in and day out here in this village, and I want to make sure that everyone knows they are endlessly working. You don't see all the things that they do on a day-to-day basis, and it's time to make sure that we as a community come together and thank them for all that they have done for us. Our VFW, our American Legion, our police department, our fire department, and our first responders.
All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have a quick notes. Everybody said, Glish, be quick, be quick. So tonight's about remembering and honoring, but also about bringing back our community spirit, and also have a little fun tonight together. 20 years ago, 9/11 terrorists killed nearly 3,000 people and injured thousands. We all remember exactly where we were when we heard about the planes hitting the New York Twin Towers. Hatred can never prevail. America includes... Sorry for feedback. America, including the village of Oregon, is about our families, caring about our families, friends, and our neighbors.
Eddie.
Our spirit will never be broken by what happened 20 years ago today.
Thanks.
If anyone hurts one of us, then they hurt all of us. I found a quote online from one of the wives of one of the pilots that perished. And she said, if we learn nothing else from this tragedy, we learn that life is short and there's no time for hate. And just to end, I'll add that as we go forward, I think it's our responsibility to do good things for ourselves, those around us, and for our communities. Strive to be positive and never give up. Let us never forget what happened 20 years ago on September 11th, 2001. Thank you.
Good. All right.
Can you all rise, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please take off your hats, put your hand over your heart, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to please stay standing for the next part. I'd like to bring up AJ Kirsten and Charlotte Kirsten from the fire department. They are going to be singing the national anthem for us. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light, where so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I also personally want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your life to come here and pay tribute to this tragic event that happened 20 years ago. A lot of us watched what unfolded on September 11th, 2001, when terrorists hijacked 4 domestic planes to attack the United States. At 8:46 a.m., the first plane struck the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. Approximately 17 minutes later, the second plane crashed into the South Tower. The third plane struck the south side of the Pentagon at 9:37 a.m. At 10:01 a.m., the fourth plane, Flight 93, crashed in a field in Pennsylvania after terrorists were overrun by the passengers. As we all watched this unfold, it was clear this was not an attack on one person. This was not an attack on one city. This was an attack on our entire nation as a whole. Police, fire, EMS were at the World Trade Center within seconds and charged forward with the heroic goal of evacuating everyone, and I mean everyone, to safety. Many lives were saved thanks to the steadfast courage and honor of those first responders and the Good Samaritans. 71 law enforcement officers died during the rescue operation. 1 additional police officer died while fighting the terrorists on Flight 93. This does not include the additional lives that have been lost in the years that followed that tragic event due to serious illness. There is no police, fire, or EMS training that has or will ever likely exist to prepare them to run into a building with the understanding that they will not come out. All of the training we do as first responders evolves around being safe while performing as a first responder so that we can go home to our families at the end of the day. On 9/11/2001, those first responders remained calm and ran into a situation that was clearly an impossible feat to help those in need. Hundreds died in an instant. Thousands more ran in to the scene to help. This is the heroism, courage, and grit that many have within them. They did their job with grace, humility, and tenacity. In that moment, a sort of footprint of this memory was left on all of us. As time has gone on, that footprint, or maybe rather a wound, has slowly closed, but has always remained similar to a scar. On the 20th anniversary of 9/11, the terrorist attacks, we need to allow that wound to open back up at least a little bit. Remember the tragedy, the disbelief felt, the emotions, but just as importantly, how we as a great nation came together without hesitation to help one another regardless of race, religion, profession, level of fear, or anything else. After 9/11, many people felt a calling to serve this nation and communities. There is the common saying, time heals all wounds. The tragedy left behind on 9/11 is a wound that will never heal fully. The memories we all have of that, the many lives lost, and the significant sadness their families experienced will forever be with us to remind ourselves that that wound exists. We need to remember these feelings we felt in the moment those attacks happened. In our current times, our nation is divided. And even at times our own community, this Village of Oregon community, is divided. But look around here, right now, in this moment. We as a community came together. We have unified. And why? To honor the lives lost 20 years ago, to remember the tragic series of events that happened on September 11th, 2001. Even 20 years after those lives have lost, their legacies still continue to do good in a world that needs it now more than ever. They have brought us all together, and I thank them and their families for this. At this time, I am going to ask for a moment of silence to honor all those who have died as a result of the 9/11 attacks, their families, and those who have fallen seriously ill due to the attacks. Thank you all for sharing that moment with me.
First of all, I'd like to, again, give some thanks for all the folks that helped make this event possible tonight. Deb, Bossingham Chamber, fire folks, police department, all the members of our first responder community, and of course the VFW and all those folks. It is very heartwarming to see a great crowd on a Badger night football game, home game by the way, to be with us in celebrating these tragic events from 9/11 back in 2001. So again, just a round of applause for the business folks and everybody that came out and made this possible tonight, for the band and all those people. So a good round of applause for them. Again, good evening. For those that don't know me, I'm Glenn Linsmeyer, the fire chief here in Oregon. I'm very honored to be here tonight. It's hard to believe that 20 years have passed. You know, it's almost like a lifetime in some shape or form, that kind of stuff. I remember this day, as I'm sure many of you also remember it quite vivid. For those that didn't know, 20 years ago I was the new incoming fire chief over at Blooming Grove. I got named over there as fire chief in 1999, so I was on the east side of Madison. And I remember very vividly going home from the fire station, going to my place of residence on the east side, as I heard the AM radio, yes, AM radio report that some airplanes hit the Twin Towers in New York City. And you listened in and you tuned in and you thought, really? Airplanes driving into the Twin Towers? That's hard to believe. Here nor there, that's what happened, and I think we can all recall where we were that each and every day. As that new fire chief on that east side of Madison 20-some years ago, people looked at me basically, what are we supposed to do, and what are we supposed to do, where we're supposed to go, and all the other kind of things that go with that. That particular day, many of the fire departments, as we know, there was a lot of uncertainty with what was going on in the country. Was there multiple planes? Who was the next one might be hit? Just a lot of uncertainty. The fire and EMS and police folks throughout the country stood up their operations and was there in a time's notice if and when we were needed. I reflect back and I look back. I can't imagine my comrades in New York City, the chief of Battalion 1 of the New York Fire Department, that basically watched Flight 11 crash into the North Twin Towers. This was that fear that all of us in that fire and EMS community that day just didn't know when and where it would happen. It was gut-wrenching and just something that you could not believe. And then you watch this imagery on the TV and how it unfolded. Going back to the Twin Towers over that morning for those 3 hours, basically, the New York Fire Department, and I represent, again, the fire and EMS community here, and have for quite some time in the state of Wisconsin. That New York Fire Department, in the first time in history, came out and recalled all of its members that day to come in and work that tragic event that took place. They were able to put together, and this is almost unimaginable numbers, 121 engine companies, 62 ladder companies, 27 fire chiefs or chief officers, all were deployed to the Twin Towers. And I reflect on that. Police chief talked a little bit about us as responders each and every day. Well, that fire, police, and EMS community, we came together that particular day. We ran in as a lot of other folks ran out. That's what we do. They ran in and they went up. And we know it's 110 flights of stairs, if you can imagine that. Why were we there? We were there to save a life, to pull someone out, to make a difference in that person's terrible day, try to help someone. Not only the police and the first responders and the EMS community and the fire community was there, but there were citizens doing the same to make and come together to make this event the best it possibly could be. Today, I come here before you, and again, remembering all those responders. I do not want to forget for one second that 2,977 folks, or close to 3,000, I believe we're at now, that were the victims that day, the total loss of life in that event. I don't want to take anything away from any of those victims, their families, the children's, the mom and dads, the brothers and sisters, all of those folks. But I do want to remember, and I want to really hit home the point that our first responder community, 343 men and women, paramedics, firefighters, apparatus engineers of the New York Fire Department, along with 71 folks from the New York Police Department and New Jersey Police Departments, gave up their lives that day. Again, rushing in, doing what we could do, trying to make a difference in someone's life. I will remind each and every one of you that as first responders, and I've been doing it for a few years, and the men and women that are with us here tonight have been doing it a long time also. We know what that risk is, be it fire, police, or EMS. We are there in the early stages of that house fire, that car crash, that possible tornado or wires down in the neighborhood. All of those different hazards each and every day that we deal with. We are there for your protection, protect your life, your property, and try to mitigate the incident at hand. As responders, we all knew this, taking the oath and coming in, that there would be risk. All of those responders here tonight are here for you, your family, and all of your loved ones at a moment's notice, and I mean a moment's notice. We change everything in our lives, we respond to call. I can assure you that all the responders here tonight, from not only from the Oregon Police Department, the Oregon Fire Department, we have Brooklyn Fire Department with us tonight, and also Stoughton Fire Department. All of those responders, we have one thing in common. We will risk our life to save a life. We will rush in and do what we need to make that happen. This Oregon community, this Dane County Fire and EMS community, is very strong in the resources and the men and women that make this responding team. No matter if it's an act of terrorism, if it's an active shooter, again, or if it's a domestic incident, meaning a house fire or a vehicle crash, we are there for each and every one of you. I ask that as you go home tonight, that we all say a prayer for all of our responding team. We never know when it's our last day. And it's something to think about when you do this for a long time. I wanted to remember all of those again from 9/11, all of the responders, all of the families, all of the victims, the people that is in American history, and we cannot forget that. We need to be the historians, we need to take that message and bring that to the younger generation. I have a lot of men and women in my organization that, believe it or not, weren't born at 9/11. It's our job to make sure that we take care of that. Again, ultimately, remember those responders, say a prayer for those folks, keep their families and friends all in your prayers. Remember that any given day we're out there and we could be the one making a sacrifice, and we thank our responders for that. I hope and pray in my lifetime that this tragic, terrible terrorist incident that we had on 9/11/2001 will never be repeated. I hope that we don't deal with it anywhere in this world, anywhere in this country, or anything local, to even get close to it. We've learned a lot of things from that incident. We are better today as a country and a responding group, but we can't forget all the men and women that gave their lives. Thank you.
Microphone to be heard. But anyway, yes, as you were told, my name is Greg Graff, and I have the honor, privilege, and responsibility of being the commander of your Oregon Brooklyn VFW Post 10272. Prior to the advent of the written word, special memorial events were verbally passed down from generation to generation, or with flowers, groves of trees, or piles of rocks. As humans learned to scratch into clay tablets, etch things into stone, write on papyrus, chisel sculptures, paint pictures, or compose music, as we learn to record the traumatic and monumentous accomplishments of prolific people, you can't read it, to demonstrate those important, impactful on society, like the one we have here, so much now that we have advanced to the fact that we use our cell phones every day to record everything we do. In every VFW meeting, we have a moment of silence to remember the fallen soldiers, Marines, sailors, and airmen, their families, and POWs. That is why we are here today, to remember all those who tragically lost their lives, the police and first responders, 20 years ago. to remember the atrocities inflicted on us by an ideology that is at odds with our way of life. And we need to remember because it helps us heal. However, it is sometimes painful for us to remember because we dearly miss the loved ones who have gone on before us. The families, friends, and co-workers on those planes, towers, and the Pentagon miss them also. We may not have personally known them, but we need to remember them and honor them. If you drive out on North Main Street out of the village, just as you get to the edge of town, on the right side we have our cemetery. There we have some nice headstones glistening in the sun during the day with names, dates, and sentences of the people who repose there. They are remembered. But as you get toward the end of the cemetery, there are broken, dilapidated, and crumbling headstones. Those people have been forgotten, and that is sad. Let us strongly resolve that we will always remember the lasting effects of this horrendous event, how it brought our nation together. We need to promise to ourselves and to our posterity that we will never allow any philosophical thought process, whether it be foreign or domestic, to forget that we are Oregon, that we are Wisconsin, that we are the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. The next thing that we will be doing is placing of the wreaths. So could I have a representative from the police, from the fire department, and from the VFW, American Legion? Go ahead. Thank you. For those of you that do not like loud sounds, the next part of this event will have, weapons will be fired. They will be blanks, but they are loud, so if you do not like loud noises, or if you have animals that do not like loud noises, you may want to move away from this area at this time. The next event will be Salute Our Comrades.
Color guard, rifleman, tank, hut, port, arm. Rifleman, prepare to fire. Aim, fire. Aim, fire. Aim, fire. Port, arm. Present, arm.
Thank you. Can I please have all of the fire department, police department come up to the grass area for this next part, please? These are the men and women that are helping Oregon day in and day out. I just want you to see their faces and know who they are. Job that they have done so much for us. I want to make sure they know how appreciated they are. Thank you. The last part of our evening will be bagpipes played by Al Smith and echo taps. by Jean Vandenbosch and Misty Johnson.